good women killers.
Yep.
And then look at Once Upon a Time. Like we've got 3 strong female characters. One of whom is this fantastic villain.
Yeah, and when you think of the fairy tales, and it was always the evil queens and the.
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting. We have a hard time but there is an underrepresented. Male characters are underrepresented in fairy tales. Like if you start counting the bad guys, then you really end up with this huge disparity of all females, because there's all those witches and all the evil queens, and you put them in with all your princesses. You've got a whole bunch of female characters, some of whom are very strong, Maleficent, and almost no male characters at all that even have names. There's a sort of
they're very stereotypical.
Yeah,
a lot of Prince Charming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Sort of when you go back to folk tale stuff, you sort of get before stuff changed, and you find all this female stuff. So that's one of the really fun things at Once Upon a Time.
Now, I think it's an important thing to note that you guys did work with also some really well-liked male showrunners as well, and especially Jane with Joss Whedon. How did working under someone that is so prominent in the business sort of shape where you ended up today? And clearly that was very impactful in your career.
Changed everything. Well, I've actually worked with between Joss Whedon and Ron Moore and Russell Davis, I worked with 3 guys without whom there would be a lot less female representation on the screen and behind the scenes. So I think so it's easy to frame the guys as the enemy in this, but in fact, if it weren't for righteous men like that, I wouldn't be in the business. So yeah, we should remember that feminism crosses gender lines, thank God for the good men.
Yeah, I agree. Josh Rames is one of my favorite showrunners that I've worked with, and I've worked with him numerous times. I would say that he's kind of, I don't know, he's the most like in touch with, I don't know, the plight of the woman, but he's just an amazing guy, and I feel like if he were getting to kind of shape, which he works on and writes very female skewing shows, I would say. So I think that's true. It's just as I feel like sometimes we've probably all been told, well, I'm not sure, I can speak for myself, but where you're being considered for a show, but it's it doesn't seem it's really in your wheelhouse, maybe because you're a woman, maybe for other reasons too, but men write women better than women sometimes, just like we can write men as well as men.
Yeah, I think I've written on this topic that we need to stop saying you need a woman on your staff because they provide this.
Right.
As soon as you start saying the woman brand gets you this, then you're saying it doesn't get you this other thing.
Yeah.
And there are men who write amazing. Look at Starbuck, look at Buffy. Those are written by men.
Yeah.
But that means we can write men.
Yeah.
I worked with J.J. Abrams on the first couple of seasons of Alias, and that was such a strong female lead coming off of Felicity, which was also a strong female lead, just a much quieter show. I think Alias came out of them trying to figure out what Felicity's going to do in season 4, and they're like, what if she's a spy? Wait, I'll be back, that's a whole other show. And then Alias. But no, I mean, he's very, there's a lot of them out there that are very in touch with that energy and want to represent women in a really strong way and create these characters. And I say you always learn from every show you've been on. You take away the strengths and the weaknesses of that show and that showrunner and the stories that you're telling and all that. And I took away a lot of gold from working with JJ. So,
do you guys think, sort of in spite of the representation of women in this industry, that you've ended up where you're meant to be with, dramas, procedurals? You are on so many, cult hit shows, but you also get to provide some of the funniest episodes of those shows. Do you feel like you've ended up where you want to be, or is there still in the back of your head, I want to be on a sitcom, or I think that's more where my sensibilities lie, or are you sort of good with where you've, made your path?
I love it. I love that I get to do genre and comedy, and the bit that I still felt that I had to do, which was creating a show that I really felt ownership of, I've gotten with Husbands. So it's I work all year long on Once Upon a Time. I spent all my hiatus working on Husbands, where it's like Brad Bell and I created it, we get to get in there and really do everything hands-on, and it's extraordinary, and you feel it. But it's a little speedboat, because it's this little show, so you really feel you can take control of it. And so it's exactly the opposite of what I do all year long on Once Upon a Time, where I'm part of this big glamorous cruise ship. And so it's the perfect balance. I get to do exactly what I want to be doing.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, I definitely don't think, you know, my career has been hurt at all by being a woman. Like, I feel like any obstacles that I've had to overcome are probably more my own personal obstacles than what people are putting on me. I mean, there can be, when you're young and starting out, there can be that like little girl vibe. But I remember like going, you know, it was funny going back into the writer's room after Life Unexpected. I was like, I don't know who I am in the room anymore, because I feel like it feels like a long, I mean, it was like my 20s. It felt like a long time ago the last time I was like really in a writer's room. And I was always used to being the youngest one, like, and kind of the like up and comer, not anybody who would have any responsibility for anything. So it was weird coming back in after that and being like, I don't really know what my identity is anymore. And I still kind of feel that way sometimes. It's hard once you've done your own thing to go back to not having the control, although it's such a relief.
Yes.
But it's so hard too, because you're just used to being like, well, let's just do it this way. Like, here's what we're doing, and to sit around waiting for decisions to be made, and to go, you know, you're kind of like, you see it clearly in your mind, and it's such a gift to be able to execute it. And when you can't do that, it sometimes feels a little like wearing handcuffs. So that has nothing to do with being male or female. That just has to do with kind of what happens as you move through different things. But I feel super happy and grateful.
Yeah, me too. I was raised on this show called Party of Five as a writer's assistant. And I was the assistant to the showrunners of that series and learned so much from them. Then Alias and the OC, and then the Criminal Minds, which is just like, what? It doesn't really fit that like touchy-feely vibe that the other shows had. So I never in a million years thought I'd be on this show for 8 seasons, telling really dark tales. It's really sort of beyond me why that's happening, but it's happening and I'm grateful. But also, like, I feel like there's something in that training that I had with the Party of 5 years and all that kind of stuff that is definitely going to come back into play, because I feel like I haven't really had a chance to be in the sandbox with that for so long. So yeah, I feel like I'm just getting started in a weird way. But we all are where we're supposed to be, or else we wouldn't be there. So, and I think that we've all been able to learn such lessons along the way that we don't even know what's in our arsenal. It's just something's presented, we're like, oh yeah, we learned that. You know?
Yeah.
I learned that on Life Unexpected. I'm not going to do that again. Or
Right,
whatever.
right. Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
it's all good.
I'm going to open it to questions in about a few more minutes. If you guys have one, I'll start preparing. But what is your guys' ideal landscape? If you were to, in your head, picture how you'd like it to look with, you know, a female presence in the TV industry, what would it sort of entail?
I mean, I would like there to be more female showrunners. Like, I enjoy working with women, and I would like to work for women. It doesn't mean I don't like working for men and have not been happy working for men, but I would like to see more of that and experience that, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to see a more creative atmosphere in the business in general, more forward-looking, and so instead of saying, this is what audiences have watched in the past, so let's make more of that, saying like there are, I mean, the fact that we're doing Husbands online is telling. It's like that's where you can go if you've got content that that old TV maybe isn't thinking there's an audience for. So I'd like to see that that spirit of exploration brought into TV, and that will, of necessity, involve more women, because it'll that's who the viewer is. There are great women writers, a lot of them working online. Like if we can sort of draw that into television, that spirit would be great.
I think that would be great too. It's so I don't know, when you see that what's old is new again, it does get a little discouraging. And it feels like if we had, there's so many stories out there. Everybody's got a story. You've got a story. It's very different from her story. And there's so much opportunity for original voices. And it just feels like we really need that. I'm so happy for Jane that it's happening for her online. But before everything goes online, like, let's see if TV is brave enough to do that again. It just feels like they're not willing to take those chances, and have even said, like, this is an okay idea, why don't you go shoot it? Why don't you go shoot a few pages of it and then bring it back to us? And it's like,
Right.
oh, so if it doesn't work out, I'll just put it online, but wow, what happened to the days of like having faith in, why don't you go write it and then we'll put millions of dollars behind it to shoot it? So it's just, you know, I think that we really, we need to have faith in the stories again and believe in original voices.
Yeah, isn't it amazing if you look at, you know, some of the stuff presented at Fronts this year where you're like, this, you know, this is the year where people could really be stepping up saying that there's networks have lost so much of their viewership, like why not, this is the time to take the risk, why not go out there and tell the new stories of 2012, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could have been on the air in 1994 going on.
Yeah, I also want to see, like, it's true, the landscape of television is interesting this year, and it's true, like, there's something about it that's so disappointing, and then you look at characters, like, I want to see more of Carrie from Homeland. Like, that character is such an amazing character. Nobody's asking, is she likable? Like, I'm so sick of that question, and Laura Dern, and like, that she's a great character. She's a wonderful, wonderful character. Hannah on Girls, great character. They're all real. They don't have to be pretty and perfect. Obviously, they're all gorgeous, but they don't have to. They can like cry the ugly cry. Like, they don't have to look all put together, and that they get to be kind of real, flawed people. And on Life Unexpected, we definitely battled it. It was funny because we were just watching the screening at the wherever, and you know, anything this character Baze did, he was the dad on the show. He could be like bumbling, and he could do bad things, and like everybody loved him. And Chris Plaha is obviously so charming. But then Kate, it was like she could basically, if she was doing the exact same things as Baze, her character, Sherry's character, it's like she's a bad mom, she's selfish, she's this, she's that, and it would just, I think having more women, but then when I look at that character, Kate, and we were talking about it, I was saying what I love about Sherry's portrayal is that she just seemed so real and like was okay kind of being not the woman we all think, kind of, the woman everybody thinks you should be. She can be messy and flawed and ugly and say horrible things and want to take them back, and there's just like a reality to that I feel like isn't represented. And characters like Carrie and Hannah, you know, those are those characters, and I feel like that's what's on now, and I wish more of that would come. And I think, you know, a lot of the way to do that is having women kind of be allowed to be flawed on TV.
I think Tina Fey did us a good service with that. She brought that a lot of that.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So if anyone has questions, we have a few minutes. Okay.
We don't need a mic last time.
I think we can.
Okay. I remember once I tweeted you about writing, and I said that I like to write with music and one because it really helps. And I'm wondering if any of you have any creative writing rituals that you do. I know you like to hear the voices, so you don't play.
Yeah, the music drowns out the voices in my head. So I never actually write things down. But yeah, you've seen me do the writing sprints. Yeah, that works. Yeah, the focus, take a focused amount of time, not a task, but an amount of time. Because if you do it by the task, that task can expand. But if I'm gonna get as much done as I can in an hour, you'll be amazed what you get done, and you'll be amazed how long it's been since you've spent a focused hour without stopping to tweet and check your emails. People are like, I haven't done this in years. It's like, it's an hour. It's amazing. So that's my ritual. Oh, also I write lying down. I write lying on my back, propped up with pillows on my bed. Try that.
I don't have any tricks. My only trick is having a deadline. That gets me going. Everything else, it's all bad.
I turned my internet off.
Oh, that's smart.
And I wish I could say I don't have my phone near me, but I do. But it is amazing when you say, this is what I want to get done in 1 hour, and if you truly are focused, next thing you know, 2 hours of play.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like,
ideally.
oh, yes, and 10 pages, which is awesome.
Yeah.
When that happens, you'll have a block. But yeah.
Thank you.
I just had a question. I haven't seen any of the statistics on actually how many women showrunners there are, and I wondered if you knew that and if there's a discrepancy between network and cable, if one of them is weighted more heavily.
Interesting.
I know they recently determined that 19% of TV writers are women, but I don't think I've seen a number on showrunners.
You know, CBS has a lot of female showrunners, so I'm not in the minority there for that network. And a lot of their big shows, like the CSIs, and but I don't know what the numbers are, and I don't know if that has anything to do with Nina Tassler being the president of the network, that she gets it a little bit, but I would think it's not great if it's only 19% of women are TV writers.
What would it mean if like the showrunner number was so much better than that? Like that means that there are women out there not doing what you're doing, which is hiring a balanced staff. There are women recreating the pattern that already existed, where you have 1 or 2 women on the staff. Right? Interesting.
Something I've noticed actually is it seems fans most of the time are harder on female showrunners than they are on male showrunners, and maybe that's with Twitter and stuff. Is that something you guys have noticed, and why do you think that is?
I haven't noticed it, but I haven't been looking at that.
I don't know. I mean, I weirdly wouldn't be surprised by that in some weird way. I have no idea. My instinct was to say, do female showrunners, are they willing to put themselves out there more? And meaning like in a Twitter way, like kind of seeking approval. Not in a bad way, but just in a like, hey, do you like it? You know, if you're inviting that feedback, you're inviting that to come in, but I don't know that that's it. That was like off the top of my head. I was trying to think about it. I mean, I think people can be so tough in general, especially when you're like hiding behind something. But yeah, I've definitely seen some female showrunners get super slammed on Twitter, and
it's so hard to do any sort of statistical analysis of our business though, because it's so small. You know, how many network showrunners are there? If you notice a pattern, is it just because the women are running different kinds of shows, or just that
with a different fan base that is more vocal? Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to be really smartly analytical about it.
yeah.
I was wondering if you've noticed that there's still a push from like the networks or executives to write still for that male audience, or is it opening up more so that you can have, you know, writing and pitches for the females that are out there, you know, really looking for shows?
I think the female demographic is always hugely sought after because they're the consumers. So it's actually writing for women much more than for men. I think sometimes there's a blind spot is that they don't know what the women viewers want.
Yeah.
I mean, writing for women doesn't mean necessarily domesticity. Women
Right.
love Battlestar Galactica, and it was, you know, dogfights and aircraft carriers. I think, you know, Husbands has this huge female demographic of viewers, but I think people expect it to only draw gay men. It's like, no, it's women watching this show. I think it's what's lacking is the research into what are the women watching.
We have time for one more question.
So in the industry, who are some of the women that have helped influence who you are today?
DC Fontana, writer from Star Trek, original Star Trek, who's fantastic, and just seeing that name and knowing it was a woman early in your life is very important. And the balanced writing staff of MASH, you'd see female names go by on that writing staff. Madeline Pugh from, is that the right name? She's the writer from I Love Lucy, I think, yeah. There's another name you'd see go by. And so I think just seeing those names.
And her chair on set said girl writer. So I was like, I love her. She was the girl writer.
I would say Winnie Holzman was hugely influential to me. I was lucky enough to be her assistant, and she was amazing. I felt like it was grad school, and she kind of taught me so much just by being her and watching her and seeing how she did things. And she did things in such a strong but like quiet way. She'd just be like, honey, okay. You know, she'd be like, here's what's happening. You know, but it was like so lovely. And Jessica Bendinger was another mentor of mine who was she's very strong and vocal, and I definitely watched her kind of stand up and fight. So I have some of that in me. And actually, I'm such an idiot. I just started a job and I'm working for a woman. I'm a moron. But I've only been there 3 days. That's why I wasn't thinking about it. But I barely started. But I'm working for Callie Curry, who wrote Thelma and Louise. And just having been, and she created Nashville, and just having been in the room with her for a few days, like, I can't even tell you. I've just been like, I love you so much. Like, she's just dreamy. Like her, the way her ideas come out, and everybody, already people are so passionate about it, and everyone's kind of fighting to get their ideas across, and everybody wants to contribute, and she'll just be like, you know what? And everyone just quiets down, and she just speaks, and like, there's just something about her. I'm like obsessed with her. I can't stop staring at her. Like, she's like, who's the clown across the table? I'm like, it's my favorite movie ever, and I love you, and you're really pretty. So that it hasn't like all settled in yet, and I haven't gotten to kind of have the full experience. But she walked in on the first day and was like, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy, to everybody. And it was just like, thanks for having, you really felt like, I don't know, it was a nice feeling. So I'm guessing she's going to be hugely influential. If the last 3 days, it's been a great 3 days.
I had a great opportunity to work with Amy Littman, who was a co-creator of Party of Five, and she was a huge influence. And I always cross paths with Susanna Grant, but I'm like kind of stalking her. So she's also had that really interesting career. She's like great in TV, and she's written amazing features, and so I've always just thought these really nice, good people can have really nice, good careers, and it's a nice thing to learn early on in Hollywood, because later on, if you hadn't learned that, you would never believe it's true. So it's nice to know that, and then you continue to meet really good people and have faith in the whole process again, because it's easy to get you down. But no, I think, and then it continues, like working with really strong women and good storytellers, and it's all really, I think they're all influential.
All right, well, that is the end.